What happens when a woman wearing a $12,000 Rolex stands in Judge Judy's courtroom and points her trembling finger at a decorated police officer, accusing him of stopping her car solely because she is white and wealthy and driving through a neighborhood where people like her do not belong? What happens when she produces tears on command? When she describes being terrorized and humiliated? When she demands $5,000 in damages and expects everyone watching to automatically believe that a black officer with 19 years of spotless service is a racist who targets innocent citizens? This is the story of Stephanie Monroe, a 47-year-old interior designer who built her entire defense on the assumption that her tears would be more powerful than truth, that her expensive clothes would speak louder than evidence, that her performance would override the one thing she forgot existed: the dash cam. The high-definition audio recording, timestamp verified dash cam mounted on Officer Derek Washington's patrol car that captured every single second of their encounter. But that is not even the most devastating part of this story. Because while Stephanie Monroe was rehearsing her tears and perfecting her victim narrative, Judge Judy was spending the previous night reviewing something far more damaging than one traffic stop. She was reviewing Stephanie Monroe's complete driving history. 7 years. 11 traffic violations. 11 different officers accused of discrimination. 11 times this woman escaped consequences by crying bias. Hispanic officers. Asian officers. Female officers. Black officers. White officers. Every single one accused of targeting her unfairly. Every single time the accusations worked. Until today. Until she walked into the one courtroom where tears mean nothing and evidence means everything. Until she came face to face with a judge who has spent 35 years separating truth from performance, and who recognized this woman's act. Within 30 seconds of watching her speak, the courtroom is packed on this Wednesday afternoon. The audience members have been buzzing with anticipation since they saw the case description posted outside the studio. A discrimination lawsuit against a police officer always generates controversy. It divides opinion before a single word is spoken. But something about this particular case feels charged with an electricity that goes beyond typical courtroom drama. Perhaps it is the way the plaintiff arrived, stepping out of a white Range Rover in the parking lot, pausing to check her reflection before walking toward the building. Perhaps it is the way she is already dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief before the cameras have even started rolling. Or perhaps it is the quiet dignity of the defendant, a man in his formal dress uniform whose chest displays more commendations than most officers earn in a lifetime, sitting with the stillness of someone who knows the truth is on his side. Stephanie Monroe occupies the plaintiff's chair like she owns the entire courtroom. Her honey blonde hair cascades over shoulders draped in a cream-colored St. John blazer that costs more than many people's monthly mortgage payments. Her jewelry catches the studio lights with every subtle movement. Diamond tennis bracelet, sapphire cocktail ring, the Rolex that she keeps adjusting so everyone can see it clearly. Her Birkin bag sits beside her chair like a silent testimony to her status. She is dressed for this appearance the way a general dresses for battle, armor designed to communicate that she is the kind of person who should be believed without question. But it is not the expensive accessories that fill the courtroom with tension. It is her demeanor, the way she has already positioned herself as a victim before anyone has heard a fact. The way she looks at Officer Derek Washington with an expression of undisguised contempt. The way she is practicing her tears, touching her handkerchief to dry eyes, rehearsing the emotion she plans to deploy when it will have maximum impact. Officer Derek Washington sits at the defendant's table in his formal dress uniform. The contrast between them is immediate and stark. This is a man who has spent 19 years serving the city of Philadelphia, responding to emergencies in the middle of the night, putting his life at risk for complete strangers, earning the trust of communities that too often have reason to distrust law enforcement. His chest displays 5 commendations for valor, 3 community service awards, and a special recognition pin for his work establishing youth mentorship programs in underserved neighborhoods. His posture reflects military precision, professional calm, despite being publicly accused of racism on national television. His captain sits in the gallery directly behind him, present to demonstrate departmental support for an officer whose career has been threatened by accusations the department has already investigated and dismissed as baseless. There is something in Officer Washington's eyes that experienced court watchers recognize immediately. It is the weariness of someone who has seen this before. Someone who understands that lies can spread across the internet in hours while truth takes months to catch up. Someone who knows that even completely false accusations leave permanent stains on reputations that took decades to build. Judge Judy enters with her characteristic energy, taking her seat at the bench and immediately beginning to review the case file. Her eyes scan the documents, and her expression shifts in ways that only those who know her well would recognize. In 35 years on the bench, Judge Judy has developed instincts that seem almost supernatural in their accuracy. She can identify liars within the first minute of watching them speak. She can spot manipulation, performance, and rehearse deception with the precision of a human polygraph machine. And every single alarm in her considerable arsenal is screaming warnings about Stephanie Monroe. The tears that appear on cue but leave no actual moisture on her cheeks. The designer clothes worn like a costume designed to communicate trustworthiness through wealth. The theatrical trembling of her voice that seems calculated rather than genuine. Judge Judy has encountered real victims of discrimination throughout her career. She has seen the raw, unpolished pain of people who have genuinely been wronged by systems that failed them. Real victims do not perform. Real victims tell the truth with emotion that cannot be manufactured. This woman is performing, and Judge Judy knows it before the first word is spoken. The case is formally announced. Stephanie Monroe versus Officer Derek Washington. The plaintiff is suing for $5,000, claiming racial profiling, harassment, emotional distress, and abuse of police authority. She alleges that Officer Washington stopped her vehicle in a predominantly minority neighborhood solely because she is a wealthy white woman driving an expensive car. She claims he was aggressive, threatening, and hostile throughout their encounter. She claims he issued a completely fabricated speeding citation to meet some departmental quota or to satisfy his personal prejudice against people of her race and economic status. She claims the entire traumatic experience has required ongoing psychological treatment and has affected her ability to function normally in her professional and personal life. Her attorney has prepared an elaborate opening statement about the chilling effect of racial profiling on innocent citizens, about systemic bias in law enforcement, about the courage his client is demonstrating by coming forward. Despite the personal cost of public exposure, the gallery is divided in their initial impressions. Some audience members observe Stephanie's tears and expensive presentation and assume she must be telling the truth. What possible motivation would someone so obviously successful have for fabricating accusations against a police officer? Others in the audience watch with visible skepticism. A black woman in the fifth row has her arms crossed tightly against her chest, her expression suggesting she has seen this particular performance before in different contexts. An elderly white man near the back shakes his head slowly, something about the plaintiff's manner triggering his instincts that something is fundamentally wrong with this picture. The tension builds as Judge Judy gestures for the plaintiff to begin her testimony. Stephanie Monroe takes a deep breath with theatrical precision, composing herself as if gathering courage to relive a traumatic ordeal. When she begins speaking, her voice carries exactly the right tremor, exactly the right note of wounded dignity, exactly the calibration designed to generate maximum sympathy from everyone listening. Your Honor, she begins, I have never been so terrified in my entire life. What happened to me that afternoon has changed everything about how I move through the world. I was driving through the Morningside Heights neighborhood because I was meeting a client who was interested in renovating a historic property in that area. I was being extremely careful with my driving because the streets were unfamiliar to me. I was going slowly, watching for pedestrians, following every traffic regulation meticulously. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, I saw police lights in my rearview mirror and my entire body went cold with fear. She pauses to dab at her eyes with her monogrammed handkerchief. I pulled over immediately because I knew I had done absolutely nothing wrong. I was confused and frightened. And then this officer, she gestures toward Derek Washington without actually looking at him, approached my vehicle in the most threatening manner I have ever experienced. His hand was positioned near his weapon as if he expected me to be armed and dangerous. His expression was hostile before he even reached my window. I am a successful businesswoman, Your Honor. I have built my interior design firm from nothing over 22 years. I have never had so much as a parking ticket. I follow every law because I understand that rules exist for important reasons. But the moment Officer Washington saw my face, saw that I was white, saw my expensive vehicle, he decided I must be doing something suspicious. He decided that someone who looks like me does not belong in a neighborhood like that. Stephanie's voice breaks, with what sounds like genuine emotion but produces no actual tears. This is racial profiling, Your Honor. Plain and simple. He stopped me because I was a white woman driving a luxury car through a predominantly black neighborhood. He wanted to send a message about who belongs where. He wanted to exercise his power over someone he perceived as privileged. I felt like a criminal that day. I felt humiliated and violated. And I am here today because Officer Washington needs to face consequences for his discriminatory behavior and his abuse of the authority that the public has entrusted him. With Dot, she continues building her narrative, with details designed to sound credible and damning. When I asked Officer Washington very politely why he had stopped me, he immediately became aggressive and hostile. He demanded my license and registration in this threatening tone that made me fear for my physical safety. When I asked for his badge number because I felt genuinely unsafe, his hostility increased. He acted like my simple question was some kind of personal attack. He wrote me a citation claiming I was traveling 64 miles per hour in a 25-mile-per-hour zone, which is completely absurd. I was driving maybe 27 or 28 at the absolute most. But he wanted to punish me for daring to question his authority. He wanted to justify his discriminatory stop by fabricating an outrageous speed violation. Stephanie shakes her head slowly, the picture of wounded innocence. The entire encounter lasted nearly an hour, Your Honor. Almost 60 minutes of him standing beside my car, interrogating me, making comments about how people who drive cars like mine should stay in neighborhoods where we belong. He treated me like I was a suspect in some major crime rather than a citizen with constitutional rights. I drove home shaking so badly I had to pull over twice. I could not eat dinner that night. I could not sleep. My husband asked what was wrong, and I broke down crying, trying to explain that someone in a position of authority had treated me like I was less than human simply because of my skin, color, and my success. Her attorney stands to add his practice. Outrage to the performance. Your Honor, my client was clearly profiled based on her race and socioeconomic presentation. Officer Washington saw a successful white woman driving a Range Rover in a predominantly minority neighborhood, and he made assumptions. He saw what he perceived as an easy target, and he exercised his authority inappropriately. We are asking for $5,000 in damages to cover my client's therapy costs and the work she has missed due to emotional distress. But more importantly, we are here to demand accountability. We are here to stand up and say that discrimination in any form, including discrimination against white citizens, will not be tolerated. Judge Judy's expression has remained unchanged throughout this entire performance. When she speaks, her voice carries deceptive gentleness that those who know her recognize as dangerous. Miss Monroe, you testified that you have never received so much as a parking ticket, that your driving record is completely spotless, that you follow every law meticulously. Are you absolutely certain about those statements? Stephanie nods emphatically, visibly sensing an opportunity to reinforce her credibility. 100% certain, Your Honor. My record is immaculate. I have been driving for over 25 years, and I have never once had any interaction with law enforcement before this terrible incident. That is precisely how I know this citation was completely fabricated. Officer Washington had no legitimate reason to stop me. He targeted me because of my race, my vehicle, and my presence in that neighborhood. I have never given any police officer any justification for stopping me because I have always been a law-abiding citizen. Judge Judy leans back in her chair, and that slight smile appears at the corners of her mouth. The smile that regular viewers recognize as the precursor to complete devastation. Not a single traffic citation in your entire driving history. Not one violation in over 2 decades of driving. Stephanie's confidence increases as she misinterprets Judge Judy's calm demeanor as acceptance. That is absolutely correct, Your Honor. My driving record is completely clean, spotless, which is exactly why this fabricated ticket is so outrageous and so obviously motivated by discriminatory bias rather than any legitimate law enforcement purpose. Judge Judy opens a folder with deliberate slowness. That is very interesting, Miss Monroe. Very interesting indeed. We will definitely revisit that statement shortly. But first, I would like to hear from Officer Washington. Officer, please share your account of what happened during that traffic stop. Officer Derek Washington rises with the precision of someone trained in military discipline. His voice is steady and clear despite the public humiliation of being accused of racism on national television. Your Honor, on the afternoon in question, I was conducting routine traffic patrol on Montgomery Avenue in the Morningside Heights neighborhood. It is a residential street with a posted speed limit of 25 miles per hour. At approximately 3:22 in the afternoon, I observed a white Range Rover traveling at an extremely high rate of speed westbound through the residential zone. I activated my radar unit and recorded the vehicle at 78 miles per hour. He pauses to let that number register with everyone in the courtroom. I want to repeat that clearly, Your Honor. The vehicle was traveling at 78 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone. That is 53 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. I need to explain something important about the citation I ultimately issued. When I stopped Miss Monroe and confirmed the violation, I made a deliberate decision to reduce the recorded speed on the citation from 78 to 64 miles per hour. The reason for this reduction is significant. Under state law, driving 78 miles per hour in a 25 zone constitutes reckless driving in the first degree. That offense carries mandatory court appearance, automatic license suspension for 12 months, and possible arrest at the scene with booking and bail requirements. I reduced the cited speed as a professional courtesy specifically so Miss Monroe could retain her driving privileges and handle this matter with a simple fine rather than facing criminal charges. Asterisk. Officer Washington continues his testimony with the calm professionalism that has defined his 19-year career. Your Honor, there is a critical additional fact that must be understood. Montgomery Avenue runs directly adjacent to the Morningside Community Center. At 3:22 in the afternoon, the after-school program was concluding. Children between the ages of 6 and 14 were being released to walk home or wait for parent pickup. There were approximately 40 children present at that facility. Many of them were walking along the sidewalks of Montgomery Avenue. Some were waiting at the crosswalk. Counselors were actively supervising the dismissal process. His voice remained steady, but carries an undercurrent of carefully controlled emotion. Miss Monroe was driving 78 miles per hour past a community center during the exact time when children were being released. If any child had stepped into that street, if any child had chased a ball or run toward a friend, if any child had done what children do every single day, there would have been no possibility of stopping in time. No possibility of avoiding a tragedy. At that speed, the stopping distance exceeds 400 feet. Those children would have had no chance. We would be having a very different conversation, today in a very different setting. Judge Judy's expression has hardened into something cold and focused. Officer Washington, you mentioned having dashcam footage of this encounter. Yes, Your Honor. My patrol vehicle is equipped with a high-definition dash cam that records continuously when my lights are activated. The footage includes clear video and audio with verified timestamps. The complete recording captures every moment of our encounter from the initial traffic stop until Miss Monroe departed with her citation. Everything she has claimed can be verified or disproved by this footage. Judge Judy nods slowly. We will review that footage shortly, but first, I want to address some specific claims. Miss Monroe testified that you approached her vehicle with your hand near your weapon, and that your demeanor was threatening from the start. Is that accurate? No, Your Honor. Absolutely not. Departmental policy and my personal practice require that hands remain visible during traffic stops for both officer safety and citizen comfort. The dashcam footage will clearly demonstrate that my hands were never positioned near my service weapon at any point during our interaction. I approached carrying my citation book and a pen, following exactly the same procedure I have used for thousands of traffic stops during my career. And the duration of this stop? Miss Monroe claims it lasted nearly an hour. Nearly 60 minutes of intimidation. Asterisk Officer Washington consults his incident report. The stop lasted exactly 9 minutes and 23 seconds, from the activation of my lights until the conclusion of the encounter. Not nearly an hour. The entire interaction was under 10 minutes. Miss Monroe's claim of a 60-minute ordeal is completely fabricated. Judge Judy turns to address the production team. Let us watch the dashcam footage. I want everyone in this courtroom to see exactly what happened during that traffic stop. She addresses Stephanie directly. Miss Monroe, I suggest you pay very close attention to what we are about to see, because your sworn testimony is about to be compared against video evidence with audio and timestamps that cannot be altered or disputed. Stephanie shifts uncomfortably in her chair. She whispers urgently with her attorney, who has begun to develop the expression of someone desperately seeking an exit strategy. The lights in the courtroom dim slightly as multiple screens display the dashcam footage. The timestamp is clearly visible in the corner of the screen, showing the precise date and time. The dashcam shows Officer Washington's patrol car traveling at a moderate speed along Montgomery Avenue. In the distance, the Morningside Community Center is clearly visible. Children in colorful clothing are clustered near the building entrance. Counselors in bright safety vests are visible supervising the dismissal. Several children are walking along the sidewalk. Suddenly, a white Range Rover rockets past the patrol car at a speed that appears almost impossibly fast on the video. It is a blur of white that makes several audience members gasp audibly. The radar display in the corner of the screen shows the reading in clear digital numbers. 78 MPH. The digits are undeniable, documented, impossible to dispute. Officer Washington's voice comes through the audio with calm professionalism. Vehicle traveling extremely fast through residential zone. Children present at community center. Initiating traffic stop. His patrol car follows the Range Rover with lights and sirens activated. The footage reveals that Miss Monroe does not pull over immediately as she claimed in her testimony. Instead, the Range Rover continues for more than 2 full blocks before finally stopping. Officer Washington reports his location and vehicle description to dispatch. Following standard procedure, he exits his patrol car and the camera angle clearly shows both of his hands. They hold a citation book and a pen. There's no weapon drawn. No threatening posture. No aggressive stance. Just a professional officer approaching a traffic stop, exactly as department policy dictates. Good afternoon, ma'am. I am Officer Washington with the Philadelphia Police Department. I stopped you because you were traveling 78 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour residential zone. There are children present at the community center. May I please see your license and registration? His tone is respectful, professional, completely non-threatening. Stephanie Monroe's voice comes through the audio and the contrast is jarring. Are you serious right now? I was not speeding. Your radar is obviously malfunctioning. I want your badge number immediately. This is harassment and I will not tolerate it. There's no fear in her voice. No terror, no trauma. Just immediate hostility and entitlement. Officer Washington's voice remains patient on the recording. Ma'am, I will gladly provide my badge number. But first I need your license and registration. This is a lawful traffic stop for a serious speed violation. There are children present in this area, and your speed was extremely dangerous. Stephanie's response cuts through the courtroom speakers like a blade. Oh, I understand exactly what this is. You saw my car. You saw that I am white. And you decided to harass me because you think people like me do not belong in your neighborhood. This is racial profiling, and I am recording this entire thing on my phone. My husband is a senior partner at Morrison and Hayes. Do you understand what that means? Your career is about to be over. The courtroom audience reacts visibly. Several people shake their heads. The black woman in the fifth row leans forward, her expression confirming suspicions she has held since the beginning. Asterisk. The dashcam footage continues, revealing the truth that Stephanie Monroe desperately wanted to remain hidden. Officer Washington's voice remains remarkably calm despite the accusations being hurled at him. Ma'am, I stopped you because you were driving 78 miles per hour past a community center where children are present. This has nothing to do with your race or your vehicle. This is about public safety. Please provide your license and registration so we can complete the stop. The video shows Stephanie refusing to hand over her documents for nearly 4 full minutes. She is visible through her car window, animated and hostile, pointing her finger at Officer Washington while he stands waiting with patient professionalism. She demands a supervisor. She threatens legal action. She invokes her husband's law firm multiple times. She makes repeated accusations of racism while the officer maintains his composure, despite everything being thrown at him. Finally, Stephanie throws her license and registration through the window. The documents strike Officer Washington in the chest before falling to the ground. The audio clearly captures her words. There. Are you satisfied now? Harassing successful people must make you feel so powerful. People like you are exactly what is wrong with this country. Officer Washington bends down, retrieves the documents with his dignity intact, and returns to his patrol car to process the information. The timestamp shows he is back at her window within 4 minutes and 18 seconds. Not nearly an hour. Not even close to the story she told under oath. Miss Monroe, I am issuing you a citation for driving 64 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone. I have reduced the speed from the actual 78 I recorded because that would constitute reckless driving with mandatory arrest and license suspension. I am doing you a significant favor so you can maintain your driving privileges and handle this matter with a simple fine. Stephanie's voice explodes through the audio. A favor? You are writing me a ticket for something I did not do because you are a racist cop who cannot stand seeing successful white people in black neighborhoods. I am going to destroy your career. I am going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of officer you are. Your badge number is going on every social media platform I have access to. Officer Washington hands her the citation through the window. Ma'am, you have the right to contest this citation in court. My badge number is printed on the ticket. Please drive safely in the future, especially in areas where children are present. Stephanie snatches the ticket from his hand. Do not tell me how to drive. Do not lecture me about children. This is discrimination, and I'm going to make sure you pay for what you did today. Your supervisors will be hearing from my attorneys within the hour. Asterisk. The video shows Officer Washington walking back to his patrol car with the same calm professionalism he has displayed throughout the entire encounter. The timestamp confirms the total duration of the stop. 9 minutes and 23 seconds. The audio captures his voice once he is back in his vehicle. Deep breath. Document everything. The dashcam has the truth. The video ends. The courtroom sits in absolutely stunned silence. Every single claim Stephanie Monroe made under oath has been systematically destroyed by irrefutable video evidence. She was not polite. She was hostile and aggressive from the first word. Officer Washington was not threatening. He demonstrated remarkable restraint while being accused of racism and having documents thrown at his chest. The stop did not last nearly an hour. It was under 10 minutes. She was not driving 27 or 28 miles per hour. She was doing 78 past a community center full of children. Asterisk. Stephanie Monroe's face has transformed from confident performance to pale shock. Her attorney is already closing his briefcase, preparing to distance himself from the catastrophe unfolding before him. The audience members are shaking their heads, some with anger, others with visible disgust at what they have just witnessed. Judge Judy sits forward, and when she speaks, her voice is deadly quiet, the kind of quiet that precedes absolute destruction. Miss Monroe, we just watched video evidence that contradicts every single claim you made under oath in my courtroom. Every single one. You were not driving 27 miles per hour. You were driving 78 miles per hour past a community center full of children. Officer Washington did not approach you threateningly. He was the model of professionalism while you threw documents at him and screamed accusations of racism. The stop did not last nearly an hour. It lasted less than 10 minutes. Would you like to explain these massive discrepancies, or should we simply acknowledge that you committed perjury in my courtroom? Stephanie attempts to salvage something from the wreckage. Your Honor, I was emotional during the encounter. I was traumatized by being stopped. Perhaps I misremembered some details in the stress of the moment, but the fundamental issue remains unchanged. I felt profiled. I felt targeted. My experience of discrimination is valid, even if certain specific details were not perfectly accurate. Judge Judy's response cuts through like a surgical blade. Feelings do not override facts, Miss Monroe. Driving 78 miles per hour past children is not a detail you misremember. Throwing documents at a police officer is not a detail you confuse. Accusing a decorated officer of racism while he shows you remarkable patience is not something you get wrong because of stress. You lied, deliberately, under oath. In my courtroom, she opens her folder with deliberate intensity. But before we discuss your perjury, let us address another lie you told. You stated under oath that you have never received so much as a parking ticket. That your driving record is completely spotless. That you have never had any interaction with law enforcement in over 25 years of driving. Do you remember making those statements? Stephanie nods weakly. Yes, but Your Honor, if you would just allow me to explain. Judge Judy raises her hand. No explanations yet. Officer Washington, when you processed Miss Monroe's license during this traffic stop, what did her record show? Officer Washington stands, pulling documentation from his evidence folder. Your Honor, when I ran Miss Monroe's license through the system, her driving record showed 11 prior traffic citations over the past 7 years. Not 0, 11. The courtroom erupts with gasps and shocked murmurs. Stephanie's face flushes deep crimson as Judge Judy opens her own thick folder. That is extremely interesting. Officer Washington, because I spent considerable time last night researching Miss Monroe's complete driving history. Miss Monroe, let us review your record together, shall we? Judge Judy begins reading from her folder with the precision of a prosecutor delivering a closing argument that will determine the fate of a defendant. June 2017, speeding 54 in a 30 zone. Citation dismissed after you filed a complaint claiming the officer made sexist comments. October 2017, speeding 62 in a 35 zone. Citation dismissed after you claimed the officer targeted you because of your luxury vehicle and made classist remarks about wealthy women. February 2018, running a red light. Citation dismissed after you accused the officer of racial bias. That officer was a Korean American woman, Miss Monroe. Judge Judy continues, her voice building intensity with each entry. July 2018, speeding in a school zone. 51 in a 20 zone. Citation reduced to a parking violation after you claimed gender discrimination. December 2018, reckless driving. Dismissed after you filed harassment complaints. April 2019, speeding. Dismissed after you accused the Hispanic officer of targeting white motorists. August 2019, another school zone violation. Reduced after threats of discrimination lawsuits. January 2020, speeding. Dismissed after you claimed the female officer was jealous of your success. May 2020, speeding. Dismissed after you accused the officer of bias against business owners. November 2021, speeding. Dismissed after you claimed economic discrimination. March 2022, running a stop sign. Dismissed after you claimed the officer made inappropriate comments about your appearance. Judge Judy sets down the folder and stares at Stephanie with an expression of complete contempt. 11 violations. Miss Monroe, 11 times you were caught breaking traffic laws over 7 years. And 11 times you made accusations of discrimination, harassment, sexism, or bias to escape the consequences of your dangerous driving. You have accused Korean officers of racism. You have accused Hispanic officers of discrimination. You have accused male officers of sexism. You have accused female officers of jealousy. The only common factor in every single one of these incidents is you and your absolute refusal to accept responsibility for your reckless behavior behind the wheel. Stephanie attempts to interrupt. Those situations were all different. I was legitimately targeted in those cases. Just because there were multiple incidents does not prove Judge Judy's voice rises to fill the entire courtroom. All 11 times? Every single officer who caught you speeding or running lights was discriminating against you. Every single one across 7 years had some form of bias. Or is it far more likely, Miss Monroe, that you are a dangerous driver who has learned to weaponize accusations of discrimination to escape accountability for behavior that threatens innocent lives? She stands from her bench, and the entire courtroom seems to hold its breath. You were driving 78 miles per hour past a community center full of children, Miss Monroe. Children between 6 and 14 years old. If any one of those children had stepped into that street, you would have killed them. Not injured them, killed them. At that speed, there is no survival. There's no recovery. There's only a dead child and a lifetime of grief for their family. And instead of being horrified by what you almost did, instead of being grateful that no child died because of your recklessness, you immediately accused Officer Washington of racism. You called him a racist cop who cannot stand seeing successful white people in black neighborhoods. Those were your exact words on that video. Judge Judy turns to Officer Washington. Officer, tell me about the aftermath of this traffic stop. What happened after Miss Monroe left that scene? Officer Washington stands, producing additional documentation. Your Honor, within 3 hours of our encounter, Miss Monroe posted about the incident on 5 different social media platforms. She identified me by name and badge number. She posted my photograph. She called me a racist officer who targets white citizens. She encouraged her followers to file complaints and to contact my department demanding my termination. She created a narrative of racial profiling that went viral within our community and beyond. He takes a breath before continuing. Within 72 hours, my department received 247 complaints based on her posts. Many included threats against me and my family. I was placed on immediate administrative leave pending a full investigation. My photograph was shared with comments calling me things I will not repeat in this courtroom. My children were harassed at their school. My wife received threatening phone calls at her workplace. Even though the investigation completely cleared me after reviewing the dashcam footage, those posts remain online. They continue to be shared. My reputation has been permanently damaged by accusations that this video proves are entirely fabricated. Judge Judy removes her glasses with deliberate slowness. So Miss Monroe did not just lie to escape a speeding ticket. She launched a coordinated campaign to destroy your career, your reputation, your family's safety, and your ability to serve the community you have protected for 19 years. Asterisk. She turns back to Stephanie with an expression of absolute disgust. Miss Monroe, I want you to listen very carefully to what I am about to say because I intend for you to remember these words for the rest of your life. In 35 years on the bench, I have encountered countless liars and manipulators. But what you have done is particularly despicable. You have weaponized the very real problem of racial discrimination to escape consequences for behavior that could have killed children. You have cynically exploited legitimate concerns about bias in law enforcement to serve your own selfish purposes. Judge Judy's voice fills the courtroom with righteous fury. Officer Washington has spent 19 years serving his community. He has 5 commendations for valor. He runs youth mentorship programs. He coaches basketball for at-risk teenagers. He has built trust in communities that have every reason to distrust law enforcement. And you, in your arrogance and entitlement, decided to destroy him rather than accept a speeding ticket. You posted his photograph online and called him a racist. You encouraged strangers to threaten his family. You did all of this while knowing that you were driving 78 miles per hour past children. Asterisk. She points directly at Stephanie. You are not a victim, Miss Monroe. You are an abuser. You abuse the good faith of people who rightfully care about discrimination. You abuse the justice system by lying under oath. You abuse every real victim of racism by crying wolf for your own convenience. When someone like you makes false accusations, you make it harder for people facing genuine discrimination to be believed. You damage the cause you pretend to care about. You are not fighting injustice. You are exploiting it. Judge Judy delivers her verdict with thunderous finality. Your lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice. I am awarding Officer Washington $5,000 in damages for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Every social media post about Officer Washington will be removed within 24 hours, and you will post a public retraction and apology on every platform where you made these accusations. I am forwarding this case to the district attorney with a strong recommendation for perjury charges. You lied repeatedly under oath in my courtroom. I am forwarding your 11 citation pattern to the state DMV with a recommendation for permanent license revocation. Someone who has escaped accountability 11 times through faults. Accusations should never be permitted to operate a motor vehicle again. You will complete 300 hours of community service at an organization that serves actual victims of discrimination. You will sit in those offices and listen to people who have faced real racism tell their stories. Perhaps then you will understand the gravity of what you have done. The gavel comes down with a crack that echoes through the silent courtroom. The audience erupts in sustained applause. Officer Washington's captain stands and salutes. Stephanie Monroe sits frozen in complete humiliation as her attorney exits without a backward glance. Asterisk 1 year later. Stephanie Monroe completed her community service after finally learning what real discrimination looks like through the stories of people who experienced it. Her license was permanently revoked. Her interior design business lost most of its clients after her. Courtroom performance went viral for entirely different reasons than she intended. Officer Derek Washington received a commendation for his extraordinary professionalism and continues serving his community with the same integrity he has always demonstrated. He now trains new officers on maintaining composure during false accusations and the critical importance of dashcam documentation. And Judge Judy's words continue to echo across millions of views and shares. The truth does not care about your tears. Evidence does not respect your expensive clothes. And false accusations harm everyone, especially the real victims who deserve justice and who suffer when people like Stephanie Monroe exploit their pain for personal convenience. In this courtroom, consequences are guaranteed for those who weaponize serious accusations to escape responsibility for their own dangerous behavior. Justice served. Truth vindicated. Lies exposed forever.